you go sailing around the world, I cannot guarantee you'll ever enjoy beaches the same way you did before you did that.
Yeah.
Like, we were home this summer and I did not feel like
you need to sit on the beach.
Yeah. Your whole mindset changes.
It's like the opposite of what we first had envisioned sailing around the world was, which was palm trees, beaches, and sun, and rum.
I'm Ben, that's Ashley. Together, we did the unimaginable. We sold everything and then set off on a mission to sail around the world.
Civilization. See you later.
28 countries later and over 25,000 nautical miles, we are only halfway around the world.
I have no idea what's gonna happen.
Subscribe to follow the adventure as we finish this lap.
Where do we leave off?
Where did we leave off? It's a great question. If you haven't watched the last video, go check that out now. I'll put a link up above somewhere. We left off twerking in the Bahamas. We weren't twerking personally.
No, I can't twerk. We accidentally got let into this party. And it was like our first experience with like the Bahamian culture. We were like so overwhelmed and it was so much fun.
And to this day, that's why we continue to sail. It's the culture of these new countries and these new villages. That's what drives us going forward.
We didn't know that when we left, that it would be like more about the culture and less about the tropical beaches. Like when we first set off, we were like, tropical beaches, laying in the sand, it's gonna be so amazing, this is what we need to do. Paradise, right? That's what was in our mind. So we made a decision to go back to the United States to do a refit.
That refit almost broke us, but we'll get to that later. Let's finish the season in the Bahamas because there was a couple key lessons that we learned on that first shakedown season. And it was a shakedown because we literally left Florida without doing any major work. Got on the boat, put fuel, water, beer, and food on it and started cruising. We just headed straight across the Gulf Stream and I think it was a great decision.
Yeah, we really knew what didn't work for us. So if you check out some of these pictures, I'm wearing a tank top.
It's crazy what we're thinking now seeing these because I'm towing a dinghy and literally my back is so brown and here's Ashley just sitting on the side of the dinghy and she's not wearing, a long sleeve shirt. And
I'm wearing a tank top. You'll never catch me wearing a tank top, hardly ever anymore, unless it's like evening time.
Yeah, and we're wearing sunscreen, but our sun protection back then is completely different than what it is now. Now, we hide from the sun. It's like the opposite of what we first had envisioned sailing around the world was, which was palm trees, beaches, and sun, and rum. And now it's like, find shady spots. If you're out on the street in the tropics, you like a power pole. You'll stand beside a power pole and get a little bit of sliver of shade.
You get tanned by osmosis, and the longer it takes, the better. The whiter you are, the better for your health and your skin and like everything. And it's shocking to me to see these pictures of what I was wearing with tank tops and tanning my butt. I can't believe you're gonna put that in, you shouldn't. But we were making our way north because it had gotten so hot, like so hot.
So we don't have a generator on Nahoa, which means we don't have air conditioning. And basically you would just sweat all night long. I'm more of a sweater than Ashley, not like a, you know what I mean. Anyways, my side of the bed, the sheets were just yellow. It was disgusting.
So why the heck were we still in the Bahamas?
So I hold a German passport. A German passport's great for lots of parts of the world. It's not so good for the United States of America. If you arrive via private vessel, whether it's a private plane, boat, train, or anything else, you cannot enter the United States by private vessel if you do not have a pre-approved visa. So we were sitting in Nassau and I was going to the US Embassy trying to get a visa in my passport. Oddly enough, all the printers around the entire world had broken down in the US Embassy. I don't know if they broke down or if they got hacked. Something had happened, they couldn't print US visas.
Outside of the US, which is kind of like the point of a US visa. It's interesting, these visas are just part of our life. And we knew about this problem that Ben needed to get this visa. It wasn't new to us, it wasn't something like that we didn't know about. We were 99.9% sure that we could get one in Nassau to get back into the US. And we made this plan to go and apply for it. It wasn't like we were being ridiculous. What the plan didn't account for was the entire printer system breaking down. So that's what kind of made the plan a little bit blow up in our faces. But meanwhile, it's July and we're sitting in the Bahamas in hurricanes. It's starting to come into hurricane season and our insurance is almost about to expire for there. I think we had like 10 days to get out before the insurance stopped for the Bahamas because we have to be north of a certain latitude. Anyway, here we're sitting here in Nassau and cooking, like we were sweating our balls off. Like, I don't have balls. But we were sweating our butts off. It was crazy. We were sitting inside the boat because it was like a few degrees cooler actually inside Nahoa than outside Nahoa. We spent hours in the water, hours and hours and hours in the water.
So yeah, like we did all sorts of stuff. We took stuff out of the freezer, like we're having chicken tonight. I would take that chicken out, put it on my neck to try and cool me down. Like it got crazy.
So off we went finally, and it was an epic sail.
It was epic. So when you head from the Bahamas up to the Chesapeake, you're gonna encounter the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream produces a lot of heat because it transports water from the south up to the north. So as a result of that, there's a lot of squalls. There's a lot of, the start of, not a tornado, but like a water spout. Saw a few of those starting up, and sometimes they'd come down from the top, and then sometimes they would just barely connect on the bottom. And it was crazy to see because, we're pretty inexperienced sailors, and here we are seeing water spouts, and we're like, how powerful is this thing? It's like, I don't know, a couple miles over that way. At night, there was a lot of other shit happening, more convection.
Incredible lightning storms.
Incredible. We at one point saw 73 knots on our wind vane.
I think that might be the most we've ever seen.
It was very, it would have been a burst. It was not sustained.
Like a gust, yeah.
If it was sustained, I don't think we'd be sitting here. But it was wild.
Because we were quite new at this. We didn't have an Iridium Go and we didn't have Predict Wind. We didn't have this GPS puck thing that also acts as our internet, and then the system Predict Wind, which is the weather forecasting tool. We didn't have any weather forecasting tool for when we were out there. We just hadn't set it up. This was our only offshore passage that entire year, and we just bought the boat. So these are things that are amazing and new, and everybody should have them, I think. And yet we didn't have any of that going up there. But we had contacted a gentleman named Chris Parker, and he was our weather router, and he basically was giving us weather information as we went north. It wasn't a lot of money, and it was totally invaluable, I think, for our sort of I was gonna say self-esteem, but that's not the right word, it's confidence for when we're heading north in that first season, because without that, it would have been you just didn't know, we're just oh yeah, windy. Guess this is what we're into now. So it was really awesome having someone there to support you, but not really do anything for you, but give you info. So do you remember that time when we the first time we called him and it was so embarrassing. We had our lat long all wrong and he's like, where are you?
So on the computer, there's latitude and longitude show you your position exactly on the globe. I think I'd zoomed out on the charts and then it was showing the latitude, longitude of the cursor on the map somewhere. I don't know where it was, I don't know, bumfuck nowhere. And Chris is like, yeah, can you give me your lat long? And actually gives him the lat long and he's like,
nowhere near where we were, nowhere. And he's like, are you sure? And we're on a sat phone and the connection's not that great. And I'm like, I have no idea. Let me double check that. Anyway, that was pretty embarrassing first newbie mistake.
Another really embarrassing newbie mistake was we arrived in the Chesapeake. The Chesapeake is a huge bay in the eastern coast of the United States. And we had not downloaded any charts. We're driving in and we start to look at our charts. We're like, they're kind of super gray. Even there was tiles which were completely gray. There was areas that were just nothing. And we're like, oh shit. We forgot to download charts before we left the last zone of internet.
And we had no idea. I was like, oh, it's hardly up there. It's in the Chesapeake Bay. It took us I don't know, forever. We did not make it there before dark. I don't even think we made it there before midnight. It was ridiculous.
It was crazy. And once you get up into Norfolk, there is a massive military base. So they have warships, they have submarines, they have all sorts of shit. And we're literally coming in there, and we have a helicopter come right over top of us, spotlight us, just checking us out, like, what the hell are these idiots doing there?
So Ben's like, we have a SIM card from when we left the States before. So he gets on it and he manages somehow to load it up with data, because it's like an AT&T chip or something. Luckily we hadn't been gone from the States that long. He gets data, and then he's like, I can download charts for Navionics on my iPhone, and we're navigating into the Chesapeake Bay with our iPhone, and it was okay, it totally worked, but like, holy lucky. So it is it's a cool place, you should go check it out, but try and get there in the daylight with charts. But that was fun. So we managed to check in, and it was our first USA customs, our first real kind of customs where they came on board, they kind of searched us, they checked us out, and then they let us go. They were quite nice to us, actually.
Oh, they're super nice. They just wanted to see the boat. They came on and they're like, oh, nice boat. I like it. It was so informal. So
I had called, starting in the northern part of Florida, and started working my way north to try and find a boatyard that was A, quite reasonable, and B, would accommodate a catamaran. So I managed to find one. It was the most reasonable yard we have visited yet in terms of storage fees, and it was in Virginia. So we decided that's not that much further, let's just go to Virginia, and that's how we ended up in the Chesapeake Bay.
So we'd hauled the boat out, and we were facing our first refit. It was basically the time where we were going to set up NAHOA to sail around the world. Remember that first trip we did to the Bahamas in the months prior? We hadn't done any work on the boat, because it was a shakedown cruise. And we still strongly believe that's the way to go, because what you think you need and what you actually need are completely different when you first start sailing. We were facing this big refit. There's a lot to do. There was the bottom paint, there was rudder bearings, there was, just removing all the green from the boat. Ashley is not a big fan of turquoise.
Turquoise. The turquoise, that we had all the boot stripes, so getting all of those off, putting new boot stripes on, making the boat our own, prettifying it up, bringing it into the 2000s instead of the 90s, which is where it kind of started. We bought new cushions, we put a new oven on, we reset a lot of the windows.
When we surveyed the boat in Florida before we bought it, there was a list of recommendations. It was, a reasonable list. That list of recommendations is then given to the insurer, the insurance company, and they say, okay, you will insure the boat as long as you fix that within 6 or 12 months. So this was our time where we had to fix all those issues.
Oh man, remember those through holes that were stuck in that engine? I think it took you a month of heat, cold.
The through hull is just a fixture that goes through the hull to let salt water in to, say, cool the engine or flush the toilet or whatever. So some of those had been seized and we needed to fix those. And there was, I don't even know, there's just a lot.
Beautification projects, new mattresses.
The biggest thing was the hardtop. The hardtop is the thing that covers the cockpit where you steer from and sit from in the back.
Are you taking a shower?
But it was all cloth, and that cloth was just leaking like a sieve.
So we could have replaced the cloth, but we'd gotten it in our heads, and I still think it was the right decision. But we really wanted a hardtop over this boat. If you buy a newer catamaran, most of them have them built in now. So we had one made 3 times. Oh wait, do you want to explain how that happened?
This is the part I think that almost broke us.
This is the part that almost broke us.
We had a hardtop, commissioned. First we gave $6,000 to this guy called Ernie. I can't remember what the company name was. Ernie had just taken over this company from the previous owner.
There was really great reviews about this company, and everyone highly recommended it. So we thought, this company has great reviews, they've done a lot of amazing work, everyone's recommending them. Cool, let's go with them.
So Ernie goes off, does his thing, and turns out Ernie doesn't know what he's doing. He slaps this hardtop on, huge metal structure underneath, and we're like, I guess that's what we asked for.
Kind of, sort of, not at all, except the pooling of the water on the hardtop, not ideal. In Virginia in the fall when we put the top on, there happens to be a lot of rain actually, because it's kind of the end of cyclone season, and cyclones start to come up the coast. And so we had this one that was almost going to hit us, whole nother story, but it happened to be a really, really rainy for about 3 or 4 days.
It was really good that that happened because so much rain hit us that it penetrated the actual fiberglass hardtop because there's cracks in it. It was just really badly made.
There was cracks in the fiberglass. There was holes drilled for no reason because he didn't match up things. The hardtop, basically, when you touched it, all of a sudden started to go squish, 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 squish. And we're like, please remove this. And I don't know. We were like, first we like fix it, and then we realized that this gentleman couldn't actually fix it. Like, there was no way to fix this. It was done. And there was a bit of a dispute after that about getting our deposit back, which we never did, and we had to walk away from him. Everything's gone. It's not like we can just slap a new soft top on it. So what do we do?
We hired another contractor. This contractor turned out, this was Rick. Rick turned out to be, well, even shadier than the first one.
Unfortunately, Rick had his own issues. We didn't realize it at the time, but he'd had some substance abuse issues in the past, and I think he took we didn't give him a big deposit, we just gave him money to buy the first set of materials, and I think he took that and bought other things with it. He was really good at spinning a tale, and I'm sure he probably was a nice person, but he really did have some problems. And he meant well, I think.
Yeah.
But it did not work out. And again, we were in a situation where we're dealing with the sheriff this time, and no hardtop once again, and big lies, and this had delayed us. Like, I mean, we're talking like major delays now. So it's cold. Now I'm in Virginia, and it's like, I need gloves. Like, it's gotten cold. It's coming into Christmas. Like, I think we had Thanksgiving there. Yeah, we're sitting there and there's no hardtop. There's never going to be a hardtop. And we'd met some really amazing people that kind of took us under the wing and helped us through this, because we were really like, we were kind of shattered. Like, this was our dream to set off. And we're like super delayed. We've lost a ton of cash. We feel like freaking idiots, because how could we have let this happen? Not once, but now twice. 2 different circumstances, but still twice, and still have nothing. And yeah, it really hurt us. Like, it was hard, man. Like, it was crazy. So here we are, freezing cold, no hardtop, and we're like, we just have to cut and go. Like, it's done. We're over here. Virginia's too cold. It's coming into winter.
So we left. We left without a hardtop, which is not the end of the world, but we left also without, you know, a bunch of cash that had gone nowhere, and time, and we headed down to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale. So
I started to call for quotes from bigger manufacturers further south, where the weather was warmer, and I could feel like the reputation of the company that we were dealing with, even if it was going to cost us more money, we were safe. Our money was safer with them, and probably we'd get a better product. So that was a huge lesson, to find out that like these smaller towns may not be able to deliver exactly what you're looking for if they don't have the experience in it. And you gotta be really careful, and that was something we didn't realize then.
I think there was a lot of lessons there. One of the lessons was, if you're not in like a boating hub, like Fort Lauderdale is the perfect boating hub. There's trades that know what they're doing. There's lots of boat stores. There's lots of competition. So if we ever were to do another refit, we'd do it probably in Fort Lauderdale, if we could, if it all worked out. Virginia, I don't even know what that little town was called. Deltaville, Virginia.
They had great stuff for doing like a home refit, you know, like small projects. So it was a fantastic place to go for small projects, and get the heck out of there for big projects, because it was beyond the capability of what that town could offer. We ended up finding a third person to build us a hardtop in Fort Lauderdale, but first we had to get there in December, and so we headed offshore.
Which went fine for the first, 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, we kind of hopped, right? We'd do like an overnight, and then we'd pull in somewhere as a storm came in, because it was like winter. And then we'd go do another hop and then pull in before a storm hit us. And it worked so good up until we hit Florida.
Yeah.
Because you can't get in as easy there.
That was the worst. It was literally if you think about Florida, there's the Florida Panhandle, and then up one side is the Gulf Stream, which actually cuts pretty close to shore. So we're headed south. We're trying to stay out of the Gulf Stream and try and stay off the land.
Yeah, let's not hit land.
So typically when we're off sailing in, blue water, if a big storm comes, worst case scenario, we bear off and we go with the wind and the waves, and it's no big deal. And what ended up happening is the wind blew up. All of a sudden the forecast changed, and the worst thing that can happen on a catamaran is if you get waves and wind coming exactly broadside to the boat. So smack on the beam.
Oh my gosh, I remember.
It is the worst, because that's the strongest impact a wave will have on your boat, is if you take it on the side. So we would take, I think, turns at night. I think we were 1 hour on, 1 hour off. And literally the person that was trying to sleep was just getting airborne down below in bed.
It was probably our worst. It's probably one of the worst storms we've been in to date. I mean,
Yeah.
the trip to New Zealand and back was bad, but like this for the short period of time. I mean, we were in sustained wind of over 35 knots.
Yeah.
We had huge waves on the beam, and they were steep and awful. And we actually thought Nahoa might blow apart. Like you could watch the floor go up. Like it goes up a good foot underneath.
The wave,
In the bridge
the
deck.
wave would come, smash the side of the boat, like obliterate the top of it, and then the rest of the wave would come underneath one of the hulls, slam into underneath the boat, and then go out the other side. And it was insane. Like it was just absolutely insane. I remember sitting at the helm station on the windward side, because that's where the helm station is, and I'm just looking out, and it's just like you see wave after wave after wave coming, and they're frothing at the top. And then they hit the boat and it's like boom. And there's nothing you can do. There's no out.
We had to stay offshore because I mean there was nowhere to go in, and it was nighttime. Of course, always storms come up in the night. Anyway, it was our first horrible experience. It was the storm that almost broke us. On top of being broken, we were almost broke again.
Yeah.
Like it was like almost broke the horse's back.
Anyways, we pulled in the next morning into one of these passes. I can't remember which one it
As
is.
soon as we could, like as soon as it got daylight, we started to go in.
We dropped anchor. I was just like,
I'm done. I think you
is
said
this
I'm done.
what, if this is what sailing around the world is all about, I'm out. Like, that's it. I'm done. If it's about like spending tons of money on fixing the boat and dealing with storms, that's not what I signed up for. And literally, like, we parked the boat at Just Catamarans, which is where the hardtop eventually got built. A beautiful hardtop, by the way. And we flew home for Christmas. We're like,
I think I booked a flight while Ben was in bed that night thinking, oh my God, I gotta get him off here, because if I don't, we might never make it out of Florida. Like, this is it. Like, this shit can break you. Like, okay, I shouldn't say that word, but it can break you. Like it's you, it's your wife, it's whoever it is. It could be your children. It can break you, and you may never get out of there and live your dream. Mentally. Yeah. So it doesn't have to, you just have to make sure that you decompress. And for us, that meant that we needed to take a break because we were going to have another hardtop built, and we just didn't need to be there like for that entire process again. We were with a reputable company. They were going to start in the new year. We had to wait a bit. They were going to measure it up, and then we just decided it was best for us to go home, regroup. I got like a $300 flight round trip, I think, from Fort Lauderdale. I was like, this is the most awesome thing. Who would fly to Canada from Florida, I guess was what they were thinking.
I don't know.
Anyway, it was wicked. Everything worked out. We got back to the boat in early January. Just Catamarans started working on the hardtop, and it was incredible, the difference. I'm talking, they knew what they were doing. They built a mold that was incredible. We had a totally different process. Our hardtop is, you can check out the pictures, but what do they call it? Vacuum?
They basically create a mold out of plywood, throw down foam, and then they put a bag around all that, and then they inject resin, so fiberglass resin through that, like epoxy, and then that cures, and it's super hard, and then they slap fiberglass on top of that and gel coat, and
it comes out beautiful. And you can get way different curves. You can get more curves with it.
Literally, hardtop got slapped on.
I think it was like 4 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then awesome installation process for the hardtop, and we're off. Like, we were literally out and ready to head down to the actual Caribbean and finally start sailing around the world. Like, the most epic Probably not the most epic start, but like,
thankfully we had that shakedown cruise to like remind us of what was possible, because if we'd started with that boat refit, I think we would have just quit. Like, it was that bad.
yeah. And I think probably a lot of people do never get out of the boat refit stage because it's just epic.
If you don't think you can handle that, buy a boat that doesn't need all that stuff.
Yeah.
The hardtop was fantastic. The hardtop is fantastic. It's still fantastic to this day. We've never had an issue with it. So it was absolutely worth it, 110%. It just would have been better if we know what we know now. Hindsight is 2020. But we finally made it out, and we were crossing the Gulf Stream once again, heading to the Bahamas, and from there it was to finally start our Caribbean cruising season. Whoa! Holy shit! You're gonna have to edit out my woes. I have a giant body, I can hardly lift him. I got him good though.
It's huge.
Very huge. That was a perfect gas.
Okay. Got something in my pocket. Check this out. Whoop. In here are 3 passports, and we have no idea if they contain the visas. I'm telling Ashley tomorrow, but she's not falling for it.
No way, man. Dude, I almost opened it right away, and he was like, stop, we have to film it. I was like, can you believe this? Stop. I'm like, are you kidding me? But he's like, no, I think we gotta open it tomorrow. Heck, and no. We're opening it now. I waited this long. He made me walk all the way out here.
How many passports are in there?
3 passports.
Okay, so you just gotta open one.
Oh, there's a letter.
Uh-oh. So open the passport.
Oh my gosh. Let's open mine.
Did we get one?